Hi there, Doug Stuman with IT Creations with a precision workstation from Dell, the Dell Precision 3680 Tower. This is a single socket entry to mid-level workstation. Released in 2024 and outfitted with a 14th generation Intel Core processor, Dell says this is the world's fastest workstation for single-threaded performance. Last year it probably was, but it is 2025 after all, and as you know, technology never ages well. I did a review of the 3660 a while back, and you can see that here. If you like our channel, hit that subscribe button. Not sure about that? Then let's get started. People are always drooling over the tip-top performers in the workstation categories, with top-of-the-line processor, tons of memory, and GPUs. Case in point, the top-end Dell Precision 7960, which surprisingly I did almost a year ago, and you can see it here. It has an Intel Xeon W series processor, up to 4 terabytes of memory, and can be outfitted with 4 double-wide GPUs. Where am I going with this, you might be asking? Well, most people don't need all that. Maybe want all that, just to say, well, I have all that. This Dell Precision 3680 could very well be all that to the vast majority of us who want performance but don't need to build a rocket to go to Mars. Since I am getting a little long-winded, again, a short overview. One 14th gen CPU, up to 128 gigabytes of memory, 28 terabytes of storage, probably more, and room for a high-performance double-wide GPU. Anyways, the case is sleek, monolithic, lots of venting on the front for airflow, and a number of ports. By the way, we will do some benchmarks with the installed i9-14900K CPU and the NVIDIA RTX 6000 Ada generation GPU, but in another video. Is this system on your wish list, or maybe one of your favorite things? Perhaps you're just window shopping for a system that has all that. IT Creations carries a full lineup of Dell Precision workstations, among others. Check out itcreations.com and save on this system, or do a little more shopping. itcreations.com. Starting from the top down, a power on button, universal audio port, 2 USB 3.2 Gen 1 ports, one with a power share option, and both with a 5 gigabit per second data transfer rate. Next, a USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type-C port with a 10 gigabit per second data transfer speed, and then another with a USB 3.2 Gen 2x2 Type-C at 20 gigabits per second, also with power share. The Gen 2x2 delivers twice the data transfer rate with 2 lanes, each capable of 10 gigabit per second for that 20 gigabit per second rate. Last, an SD card reader. At the top of the chassis, a 3.5-inch flex bay for an optional 3.5-inch or 2.5-inch HDD storage device. Below that, a slot for an optional optical device. Around back, more ports and options. A security screw at the top to secure the side panel also has a Kensington lock slot. Ports to the left include an audio line-in port, then 2 DisplayPort 1.4a, next 2 more USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type-C ports with a 10 gigabit per second data transfer speed rate, then 2 pairs of USB ports. The 2 on top, USB 3.2 Gen 2 at 10 gigabit per second, and the 2 on the bottom, USB 2.0 with 480 megabits per second transfer rates and smart power. Smart power for use with a keyboard, so it will power on the system when you hit a key. Those with power share on the front are for powering USB devices like your phone or tablet when the system is powered on or off. Beside those, a gigabit Ethernet RJ45 port. In a row just beside all those ports, you'll see a few knockout plates for optional components. That top one can be used for an optional RJ45 port with a 2.5 gigabit per second data transfer rate. The one below offers a few more options, including an HDMI port or DisplayPort 1.4, or a VGA port, or a USB Type-C port that can also be used as a display port. That last may be the best of both worlds and would be using the integrated graphics from the CPU, just like the other 2 display ports above. Now about that world's fastest for single-threaded performance. As the fine text reads, based on an internal study of competitors and Dell Workstation's products from January of 2024. Yeah, I know it's now halfway through 2025. It took us a bit to get this system, for whatever reason. Given it's an internal study, perhaps this claim is like that coffee shop in Elf.
Macaroni, if you want the thing you love.
You did it! Congratulations!
In all honesty, I'm not even sure what kind of test this is based on. It could have something to do with the unlimited turbo duration for 125 watt processors. But who cares? Let's move on. Systems that offer CPUs with multiple cores can perform multiple tasks at the same time. Depending on the processor, many tasks. Those with fewer cores concentrate on a few sets of instructions which queue at the CPU, and once completed, moves on to the next task. At the same time, the 14th generation Intel Core CPUs supported on this system do have multiple cores, but you can also get those with just a few, like the i3-14500, which offers only 4 cores and 8 virtual threads. On the other side of that equation is the i9-14900K, which is installed in the system. It has 8 P cores and 16 E cores for a total of 24 physical cores and 32 virtual threads. As the P cores support Intel hyper-threading technology, whereas E cores only mirror the physical core count, you get 16 virtual P cores and 16 virtual E cores for 32 virtual threads total. A rule of thumb, and really not worth mentioning, the higher the series number, the more cores and the better the performance. With support for 14th gen Intel Core i9, i7, i5, and i3 processors, you have choices for performance or run-of-the-mill business applications. All of the processors supported on the system have integrated graphics, either Intel UHD Graphics 730 at the low end or 770 at the high end for monitor support without a discrete GPU. Both will support dual monitors at 4 and 5K resolutions. With a mix of performance cores and efficiency cores, the CPU delegates tasks for each core type for maximum performance and efficiency. The CPU delivers 2-channel memory architecture, and with 4 DDR5 DIMM slots, the system will support up to 128 gigabytes of ECC or non-ECC memory with 2 DIMMs per channel. Depending on the configuration, memory speed can vary from a top speed of up to 4,400 megatransfers per second with 1 DIMM per channel to 4,000 megatransfers or even 3,600 megatransfers with 2 DIMMs per channel. We have 2 32 gigabyte memory modules installed in the system that are capable of speeds up to 5,600 megatransfers per second. The CPU is also capable of supporting that speed, but memory speed is limited to 4,400 megatransfers per second on this system with 1 DIMM per channel. This system is compatible with Microsoft Windows 11 Home, Pro National Education, and Ubuntu Linux operating systems. The Pro Education version is specifically designed for educational institutions and offers additional tools to manage the system. To make sure your Dell Precision 3680 tower is running programs at peak performance, there's the Dell Optimizer for Precision. The Dell Optimizer for Precision is available to all users. It's an AI-based software that analyzes your work habits and makes subtle changes to get the best performance out of the installed applications and hardware. If you're thinking this utility used to be called the Dell Precision Optimizer, you would not be wrong. Whatever. In addition to boosting performance in those independent software vendor certified applications, there's also a Power Optimizer. The Power Optimizer takes over power management when you switch to quiet mode in the thermal settings to help save energy when compared to the default settings. With our high-end GPU-enabled system, keeping it all cool is a processor fan with a 125-watt heatsink for the CPU and a plastic cowl to direct fresh air over the CPU and memory modules. There's also a 65-watt heatsink and fan assembly for those lower wattage CPUs. We don't have that one. Also, 2 large fans in front and 1 in back at the top of the chassis. The one at the back is different depending on if you have a 300-watt PSU or the 1,000-watt system. If you do install a GPU on a lower wattage system, you will need to upgrade the rear system fan and definitely the PSU. The larger double-wide GPUs for this unit also have an integrated fan for additional cooling, not to mention the perforated section in the side panel for venting that GPU-scented air. That is the smell of victory. With only 3 PCIe slots, choose your expansion options carefully. The allocation of PCIe slots includes a PCIe 3.0 slot with by-4 closed end, a PCIe 4.0 slot with a by-4 open end, and a full-height, full-length PCIe 5.0 slot with a by-16 interface. That last by-16 slot can be outfitted with a discrete graphics card of up to 450 watts. That is with the 1,000-watt PSU and other bits. Power is a consideration with GPUs. If you go with a 300-watt PSU, you'll be limited to a 75-watt GPU. At 500 watts from the PSU, you'll be limited to a GPU of up to 225 watts. With the 1,000-watt PSU, a GPU with a power draw of up to 450 watts can be installed, like with this system. Again, since our system does have the top-end i9-14900K CPU and 1,000-watt PSU, GPUs supported include several NVIDIA Ada generation cards. This system came with the NVIDIA RTX 6000 Ada with 48 gigabytes of GDDR6 memory. Also supported are AMD Radeon graphics cards, including the AMD Radeon Pro W7900, also with 48 gigabytes of GDDR6 memory. A heads up on that last one, it is a triple-wide card. I will add that both of these cards require a PCIe 4.0 interface and 300 watts of juice, which is not a problem with the 1,000-watt PSU. As the system can support a GPU with a power draw of up to 450 watts, I think it's safe to assume Dell is thinking ahead, and we as consumers can look at installing more powerful GPUs as they become available. Maybe a Blackwell. I will mention that if you do install a double-wide or triple-wide card, it will take out one of those x4 PCI slots. That said, there are other options for those PCI slots, depending on what you want to use the system for. That includes NICs, maybe a little extra storage with a Zoom Ultra Speed card with either 2 or 4 M.2 drives. The x4 option would require that x16 slot for full throughput, but if you use the integrated graphics from the CPU, then good to go, with at least 2 or 3 monitor rig. Another great option is a Thunderbolt 4 PCI card offering data transfer rates of up to 40 gigabits per second using 4 PCIe 3.0 lanes. I will also note, if the Thunderbolt card is not placed in the PCIe slot associated with the Platform Controller Hub, or PCH, then you might encounter some strange errors. So place that card in slot number 4 at the bottom of the chassis, which is controlled by the PCH. The motherboard supports up to 3 PCIe NVMe SSDs with a 2280 form factor. That would be 80 millimeters or a little over 3 inches in length. 2 of those slots are PCIe 4.0 x 4 slots, with 1 a PCIe 3.0 x 4 slot. Additional storage includes Bay 1 at the bottom front of the chassis and Bay 2 above the fan at the rear of the chassis. Another M.2 slot on the system board is for a wireless local area network card, or WLAN card. There are a few wires to connect the wireless card antenna. For additional storage, the external flex bay can also be configured with a SATA drive and a few more M.2 drives with the Dell Ultra Speed Drive Duo. If you want to see the benchmarks for the Intel Core i9-14900K and the NVIDIA RTX 6080 generation GPU, then subscribe to our channel. I do hope you enjoyed this overview of the Dell Precision 3680 Tower Workstation. It is adaptable and expandable to support a number of workloads and does offer ISV certification for all your favorite programs. If you are interested in this system or another one of Dell's Precision workstations, then check out IT Creations using that link right there, or one in the links in the description below. itcreations.com. Until next time, I'm Doug Stuman with IT Creations. Thanks for watching.